Okay, well, we are going to continue on the theme of the financial collapse of America and the financial weakness of America. And I've been doing some reading here this morning. This is not in any particular order, so bear with me as I kind of share some of these principles, but really, really, really eye-opening. First of all, throughout the history of the world, gold and silver have been considered to be the primary currency of choice and or medium of exchanging goods. For example, if I was a soybean farmer and I wanted cattle, I'd have to take a ton of soybeans in, which would be really hard to do, find a cattle producer, grower, to buy 2 cows, and I would have to find one that actually wanted soybeans. Well, if they wanted coconuts, kind of out of luck. I'd have to find somebody who wanted soybeans for coconuts, and then once I have coconuts, I could trade for 2 head of cattle. So, in order to expedite that whole process, we created a system of money, which makes trade really, really easy. And throughout history, the very essence, foundation of money has been gold and silver coins. Now, I did not know this, but I'm going to read something. This is my little pocket-size Constitution. And in Article 1, Section 8, it says that Congress has the power to regulate the value of and of foreign coin and to fix the standard of weights and to coin money, regulate the value of that money and of foreign coin and fix the standard of weights and measures. In Article 1, Section 10, it says, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments and debt. So it seems pretty obvious, based upon the Constitution, that Congress has the power to coin money, but that money must be silver and gold coins. Now, with that said, I don't know if you've ever heard not worth a continental. In this book that I was reading here this morning, they went back to 1781, so right at the end of the Revolutionary War. The worst inflation pretty much in American history occurred at that time. In order to pay for the war, American colonies printed money, printed paper dollars, which really had no value. And by 1781, it took 1,000 continentals to purchase what only 6 years before had taken 1. So what had taken 1 continental, $1, let's just say, to purchase something, now took 1,000 continentals to purchase that. And they were talking about the same thing, very high hyperinflation in post-war Germany. Now, obviously, the basis of printing money, of spending beyond your means, is a violation of one of the 10 commandments. Can you guess which one? Thou shalt not covet, which means desire something more and not just live with a spirit of contentment. So I would say the issue behind the government's deficits each year, the issue behind the government's debt, is the human nature. And it's just a desire, it's pride, it's covetousness. We desire more and more and more and more and more. We thirst after more and more. And that has led to high levels of spending and thus high levels of money printing, inflation, to pay off that spending or to pay for that spending. So it's kind of a self-inflicted economic wound that we've been experiencing as a country. Now, again, going back to the Constitution, it's really interesting. The Founding Fathers understood this And pretty much any country, because America's not the first one to use fiat currency. Fiat currency, just paper that's not backed by anything. But that all currency should be something of intrinsic value, gold and silver. And we moved away from that to, I should have brought this out. I have a couple of them. Do you remember a Kennedy $50? Like any coinage before 1964, I think, was quarters, $50, dimes, I believe were 90% silver. So I did the math. A Kennedy $50 from 1964 is 12.5 grams. It's 90% silver, which means 11.25 grams is silver. There are 28.35 grams in an ounce. Silver right now is selling for about $27 an ounce, which means the silver content in a Kennedy $50 is 0.397 ounces, almost 4/10 of an ounce, which would equate to about $11. And right now they're selling for a premium. Of course, there's always a markup, $12 to $15. So from 1964, when a Kennedy $50 was worth 50 cents, even though the silver content, we've seen a 25 times increase in the value. That just goes to show how much inflation has taken hold. If 50 cents now goes to $12 or $12.50, that's a 25 times increase in value. So it's just showing that as we print more dollars, the value of an individual dollar is becoming less and less. Since the gold standard prohibited our political leaders from tampering with the money supply, we went off the gold standard in 1971, and since then, since we don't have to have the gold behind the paper currency, we can basically print as much paper currency as possible. If we had to have gold that backed it up, then we're limited by the amount of gold that we possess. And the amount of gold that we can actually extract from the ground is very limited, which would prevent inflation from taking place. I mean, it would be very minimal over the course of years. And what's really interesting is that this particular book that I was reading this morning lays out the article that the government is actually doing something that God says is wicked and is violence and wickedness, which is it's cheating its people. Whenever you don't use a consistent, accurate system of measurement, of weights and measures, you're falsifying to the public. And the argument that's being made here is that as the government prints money, the value, apart from the gold standard, the value of that money is decreasing. And basically what they're doing is stealing people's savings and stealing the wealth from individuals as they print more money. Now, printing money helps people with debts. That's why the government does it. But it hurts people who save and who have exercised wisdom with their resources. So, just intended to be a follow-up from Sunday's message. Thought that was interesting coming from the Constitution. Seems pretty clear. I've got to do more research. There in Section 1, Article 1, Section 10, that our monetary supply is supposed to be gold and silver, based upon gold and silver, which we've gotten off of since 1971, or you could say since, or even earlier than that. I think most coins from 1920s to 1960s were a majority silver content and kind of preserved. They had wealth intrinsic in the actual coin. So hopefully this was enlightening. And I'm going to post a video too that you might find interesting. I think it's about 15 minutes as a follow-up to Sunday's message to continue on this economic theme. Okay, talk to you later.